Hello, I'm Dr. Laura. Welcome to Season 4 of Where Work Meets Life. I am delighted to have produced 3 years of podcast episodes on the intersection of work and life. My topic areas have ranged from helping human beings thrive, helping organizations thrive, helping people find meaning and fulfillment in their careers, and advocating for a better world. I love the variety of these topics and the fact that all of them focus on the intersection of our work and our lives. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the theme of how the workplace is evolving, the evolving landscape of work and careers, and talk about some of the topics and episodes that I hope to bring you in the coming season, as well as reflect on some of the highlights from season 3 and some of the episodes maybe you didn't catch, which are ones that are definitely worth going back to. So what is happening in the evolving landscape of work? Well, one topic that is on a lot of people's radar is artificial intelligence, or AI. And I wrote an article on LinkedIn recently about this topic and how do we predict AI is going to change the nature of careers and which careers might become obsolete because of AI, and at the same time, which careers may be evolving and coming to fruition based on AI. And the outlook that I have on AI is a positive, optimistic one. We need to work alongside it as a tool and an ally, and it will make certain jobs obsolete, but it will also create new jobs, and it'll also help us do certain elements of our jobs more efficiently. So there's different sides to the AI issue. I plan to explore it more through the podcast, as well as through articles and media, to really look at how we can stay a step ahead of navigating this in our work and our lives. So that's one theme that I see as being one that will continue to be at the forefront. Another theme is flexibility, which I've spoken a lot about on the podcast. I've spoken about creating flexible hybrid workplaces, remote work, lots of content on that. But what I see playing a key role going forward is that human beings want flexibility. They want to be trusted, and they want autonomy to do their work in a way that makes sense for their work style, their lives, etc. But there's this constant push around people coming back to offices and more of a one-size-fits-all way of working. So I really am keen to continue to talk about this issue, to explore it with different guests. And I don't think it's going away. I think that the desire for flexibility and trust and work changing and evolving how and where and when we work, including topics like the 4-day work week. I really am excited to explore some of that in season 4. Another area that I'm particularly passionate about, and I see a lot of people needing and wanting more guidance and information on, is toxic workplace cultures and bad bosses. So I've talked about toxic bosses and difficult bosses and narcissism as one type of difficult personality challenge. But I want to dive more into that in season 4, talk about bad bosses, what they are like, what are the early warning signs of a bad boss if you are being hired to work for someone. What types of things do you look out for? How do you decide when it's time to leave or to exit from working for a bad boss? And how can organizations avoid promoting people into leadership who are going to make bad bosses? So those are all topics that I'm excited to talk about myself, and also to bring experts from around the world on these topic areas. Another area or theme that I did a solo episode on recently is trusting our intuition. And I think that intuition is an important element of our work and our lives. I would love to continue talking about that when it comes to thriving humans, and creating meaning and fulfillment in our lives is super important, because it is easy to get consumed by fear and worry and our constant thoughts that are churning in our heads, and to have difficulty grounding and finding purpose and meaning in this life. So I'm really excited to bring elements of that into the podcast, including spirituality in whatever ways, shapes, and forms that looks for people, but with a lens on how we can thrive as human beings, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. So there's all of these different elements. Humans are complex, they're nuanced, there's a lot of different things that go into our overall well-being and feelings of meaning and joy and success. And that's why I love the field of psychology. There's just so much to unpack and discuss. And I'm learning all the time as well. And if I can share some of my learnings with you, then I feel like I am spreading some knowledge and spreading some well-being to others, and that is a wonderful value that I hold dear. So I think that we focus a lot on our minds and our brain, right? And we need to also focus more on our heart and our inner wisdom when it comes to making decisions, finding fulfillment in our careers and lives. And I think society has been much too heavy on cognition, brain, intellect, thinking, at the detriment of looking at our feelings, our emotions, our heart, our intuition, these parts which are a little more gray or fuzzy, but are equally, if not more, important, because too much focus on the brain can actually cause a lot of stress and anxiety. The brain is critically important and a beautiful organ, but it has been given too much weight in the overall scheme of things. So we're going to just talk about the brain. We're going to talk about brain science, neuroscience in different elements of the podcast. So yeah, there you go. Those are the themes that are emerging. But what I always like to do is to say, let's see how the season unfolds. I'll bring interesting guests. I'll bring a variety of guests, and I'll speak to topics like these that I believe are important. And I will look for the latest evidence and trends as I share with you some interesting nuggets and considerations and insights. So when I look back on season 3, this was really fun. I said, what happened in season 3? And I had 24 different episodes. So every 2 weeks, an episode came out. A lot of them were from guests from around the world, as well as I did some solo episodes, which is diving into a certain topic where you get to hear my thoughts or considerations to think about, to offer some perspectives, to share some knowledge. So I like the variety of that. I hope you do as well. Always like to hear from you and what you think of the content, and if you have ideas for other content you'd like to see. But in season 3, I had some episodes around career fulfillment that I think are really important to go back to if you're struggling with a career pivot, or if someone that you know and love is struggling. Episodes 41 and 42. Too bad to stay, too good to leave, making purposeful career pivots, and career fulfillment, making or breaking our work-life wellness. Those 2 episodes are with my business partner, Megan, in Toronto, who runs Canada Career Counseling with me. And we talk at a level about what it is that leads people to stay in jobs where they're not happy, and what leads to people making purposeful career pivots. And I think that this content is useful. It gives you some things to think about, some areas that you might relate to, or people who are struggling with career changes or decisions, or feeling stuck in something that they're not happy, but maybe they don't know what else is out there, or they're living in fear about making a pivot, because it is a big decision and it takes a lot of courage. So those are the episodes about career fulfillment that particularly stand out to me. I also have some episodes on thriving humans that if you want to go back to, like the one with Dr. John Rady on the power of exercise to optimize your brain and mental wellness. That was really interesting and powerful in terms of getting into the whole notion of how the brain and exercise go really well together, and how vigorous exercise can actually mimic the same effects that medication does for certain challenges like anxiety, depression, ADHD. And it doesn't talk about replacing medication, but it really is interesting how important exercise is in the well-being of people with different types of challenges, or people who are just navigating life. Women, as they age, exercise becomes so critical as we go through those hormonal changes. And I say myself too, it affects all of us, and we need to make time for exercise, and certain types of exercise matter more than other types. I learned from that conversation with Dr. John Rady, which is episode 57. I did a series on nature as well. So episode 61, Vitamin N, which stands for Vitamin Nature, the power of nature in our work-life wellness. So that was a really fun episode, and it inspired me to do a contest around a Not a Desk, and to use my own Not a Desk, which is a desk that attaches to any glass surface or to a tree, so you can work outside, or you can work overlooking or looking out onto nature. So that episode is really fun. It talks about biophilic design principles, whether you're designing a home office or an office, really looking at how we can bring nature into the design and how we can get out and work in nature more. I did an episode on the generous work home, which launched August 28th. And that episode is around a prototypical condo where people can work and live, and some of the considerations around noise, air quality, light, temperature, different work setups, scents in the air, all these different factors that help people to thrive and be productive between the different types of tasks they do at work. And the concepts from that can be applied to anyone's work and life, and that episode is so interesting as well. So again, a lot of different content here, a lot of different subject areas. What I like about season 3 is there's something for everyone. There's something for the HR leader who's looking at improving workplace culture. There's something for the individual who's stressed and challenged with their well-being, their wellness, their health, their anxiety. There's episodes on thriving humans that will very much appeal. And then there's episodes on making a difference in the world that I find really inspirational. So the episodes on basically philanthropy through fashion, purpose, planet, and people is a really interesting way of looking at the waste that comes from the fashion industry, and how an innovative company has really pivoted around how to design and deliver in a much more purposeful, planet-friendly way with a lot of passion. So that is really exciting. That's episode 63. I interviewed a homicide detective who I'm connected with, Dave Sweet, on episodes 47 and 48. And we talk about tragedy as our teacher. We talk about unlikely connections, affirmations, and the power to make a difference. And that episode goes into a personal situation that my family faced, and it really talks openly about a spiritual lens and looking at tragedy and the silver linings and learnings from tragedy. What I really like about Dave Sweet is how spiritually open he is, and at the same time, he's a very detailed analytical homicide detective who has made an incredible difference in the world. So again, lots of variety. The Lilo Haya Project episode with Gerald Auger, who I consider my Indigenous brother, Sass Jordan, who is Canada's Queen of Rock and the Blues. That was a really fun episode. And again, it talks about spirituality. It talks about how to live and live in a more mindful way, how to ground and be more connected with one another in this difficult and challenging world. And it's two artists who are very, very interesting in how they describe these topics and how their lived experience is brought to you in a way that can help you in your own lives. So those are some pretty interesting episodes that stand out to me from season 3. However, I would say that every episode in season 3 I learned something from, I found to be valuable. I love the connections with the people that come on the podcast. And I'm just delighted to be starting season 4 with you on this journey to help make people's lives and work lives, careers, and meaning and purpose in this world better. And if I can do a small part in that by bringing interesting perspectives and stories and wisdom and nuggets, then I am just thrilled. This is a labor of love. I love doing this podcast. If you like the content, please share it with others. That's the way that we can continue to bring you this content. And I have an e-newsletter that goes out monthly that is full of all the latest and greatest tips and tricks and resources, and the blog articles as well that stem from these episodes. And I ask every guest, what do you read? What do you like listening to? So we've accumulated a lot of really beautiful book recommendations and other podcasts, and we're sharing the wisdom, the love, the recommendations in a community to help human beings thrive in work and in life. So thank you for being here. I hope that you connect with me and that you enjoy the content of season 4. Stay well. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Where Work Meets Life. If you enjoyed the content, please rate and review and share with others who may benefit. Visit me at my website, drlaura.live, and sign up for my monthly e-newsletter full of tips and resources. I'm also a passionate keynote speaker and would be delighted to connect about your speaking needs. Check out my podcast summary for links to my psychology practices, Canada Career Counseling, and Synthesis Psychology. Stay well.